Hello friends, and prepare yourself for another build video. Today we are going to be exploring the handsome, smartass, and Knights of the Old Republic 2, Atton Rand.
That's about it. I don't really want to talk about it. Looks like somebody left the doors of the Academy wide open. I have a bad feeling about this.
At first glance, Atton can seem like a reskinned version of previous characters that we've seen in the Star Wars universe. So for example, like Cartho Nassi, Mission Veo, and even our scruffy-looking big screen smuggler, Han Solo. But don't be fooled by this. Atton has a lot more versatility beyond cracking wise and pretending to know how to fight with his hands. His fighting spirit means he'll never truly be out of the fight if he's knocked down, as long as one other party member is still conscious during battle. He also has the survival feat, giving him a bonus to all of his saving throws once he's below 50% of his total vitality points. And finally, he starts off as a Scoundrel, and that gives him Scoundrel's luck, boosting his defense by +2 for every subsequent 6 levels. So level 1, level 6, 12, 18, etc. And he also gets varying levels of sneak attack, which does extra damage to enemies that can't fight back, or if they're attacked from behind. So, of course, all of this is going to depend on when or if you convert him into a Jedi. I tend to build him in one of two ways. First, with just being ranged blaster pistols and the Force to supplement those attacks, compared to him being using a lightsaber and doing melee damage, but also trying to have some kind of crowd control abilities, so that way I could proc my own sneak attack. So I personally just like to get him to either level 11 or 12 as a Scoundrel before I convert him into a Jedi. And this is because he get 2 bumps in defense from Scoundrel's Luck, assuming you get him to level 12. And if you only take him to level 11, he'll still get at least 1 bump of defense from Scoundrel's Luck, but he will also have level 6 of sneak attack, which grants him an extra 6 to 36 points of damage. So that sneak attack damage can be a little bit more difficult to pull off in every situation, especially if you're going to be the ranged build that I do, compared to when I try to focus on him being more of a caster as a Jedi. But the passive defense bonus is definitely nice from Scoundrel's Luck, so you could take it at least up to level 12, like I said, for the 2 bumps. But if you only go to level 11, that's okay too. I've done that before. Atton, though, he definitely tends to be a staple of my party composition in the game, but there is merit to not do it this way. There is merit to not leveling him up at all once you meet him, especially if you have intentions to make him a much more powerful lightsaber-wielding Jedi, compared to converting him after he hits double digits in Scoundrel. But let's jump into it, shall we? So in terms of attributes, I tend to focus on getting Atton's constitution to at least 16 before allocating the remaining increases to his dexterity for bonus defense and increased chance to hit with his ranged weapons. I still stick to at least 16 constitution before allocating the remaining increases to his wisdom, just for those more chances for success and a higher DC. Against enemies that he could potentially crowd control and then pull off that sneak attack damage. But if you decide to just, keep putting more points into Constitution, then, if you want to be a little bit more beefy, that's okay too. I get it though. Constitution, it isn't as sexy as Strength or Dex, but it allows Atton access to various implants that help augment his survivability and effectiveness on the battlefield. So the reaction system, which requires 16 Constitution, or the alacrity implant, which requires a 14 of constitution. Both give increases to his dexterity, but you could also have the insight implant, which has a constitution of 14, gives him +2 to wisdom, in addition to some belts, and I also think chess pieces. I think like the Baron du Sage or Baron du Novice armor gives you at least +1 or +2 in your wisdom. So there are different ways to either bump up his dex or bump up his wisdom, depending on which type of build you're kind of going for. But in terms of feats, when Atton joins the party, he's level 3, so that means he's, as a Scoundrel, he's going to get feats at level 5, 8, and 11, and that operates under the assumption that you're going to convert him to a Jedi at least, level 12. The feats that I focus on for Atton are 2-weapon fighting, Master Rapid Shot, or Master Flurry, just depending on, you know, which type of build I'm going for. Toughness, and I definitely need to get finesse lightsabers if I'm planning on making him a melee Jedi. His dexterity is just so much higher than his strength. Now, when talking about gearing for Atton, there's definitely two ways that you'll see it be built. So for the ranged, it would be upgraded blaster pistols, some kind of stealth belt. So I think, for example, like the Frosian scout belt. His lightsaber as a backup, just in case he does have enemies come close. And then the reaction system with the Kubaz Scoundrel gloves. And then with that, I only focus on 3 powers if I'm going to gravitate towards more ranged build. It would be like Master Speed, Master Valor, or, you know, Master Lightning, depending on your alignment. And I sometimes get Force Deflection, especially because you're definitely going to be a target, and it's nice to at least deflect that stuff when you're standing back and just firing at will. I definitely tend to stay away from more of the offensive force powers if I build him as a range character, just because, like I said, his wisdom and charisma out of the gate aren't great. So beating enemy saves is just going to be a lot more difficult that way. But if you build him as a more melee-focused Jedi with some crowd control abilities, I would definitely just focus on trying to get him most of the time just wisdom, because I still find that as long as I could crowd control enemies and I already had on like master speed, it would just, I would wreck people by the sheer amount of extra points of damage I got. So consistently, I think at one point I was getting close to like 50 to 60 points per hit on enemies with a double-bladed lightsaber, and having master speed, which I think gave me either 1 or 2 extra attacks. I'm pretty sure it's 2. So man, I was definitely dishing out a lot of damage. So I would definitely focus on that point if you're going to get him to be more of a force wielder, with better, having a higher DC that enemies have to save against. Definitely get him a lot more wisdom and charisma. Just kind of focus more on that instead of putting continuous points into his dexterity. So let's see him in action though. Yeah.
Say the word.